I learned the job at FMO, and I just realized when we're talking illiquidity and all that sort of stuff, in a way I'm a specialist in toxic stuff, which if you mix it right, isn't toxic at all. And I'll start with a little video that probably by traditional bankers would be seen as toxic material, but if you put it in the right mix in a portfolio, you have great impact and great financial returns.
For the last 25 years, the Subramaniam family have lived under a roof made out of coconut leaves.
மழை பெய்யும் பொழுது உள்ள அப்படியே தண்ணி எல்லாம் ஊத்தும். நாங்களும் கண்ணுக்குட்டியோட அப்படியே வரிசையா தான் காலை நீட்டி போட்டுலாம் படுத்துறோம்.
Now they're building a new home, funded by a $2,250 loan from India-based Swana Pragati Housing Microfinance. Housing finance can be difficult to secure for India's poor, but Swana Pragati utilises an established network of microfinance companies which recognise social collateral, as well as innovative systems for recognising land ownership.
Need for rural housing is enormous. Every family has a very, very primitive shelter. And what little savings that they are able to make from their livelihood earnings, they have to reinvest in rebuilding this house, which again is not permanent and which is very temporary.
The self-help groups help make sure the loans are repaid. Swana Pragati allows clients to undertake loans in incremental stages for different phases of construction, such as laying foundations or fixing windows and doors. Clients repay the loan in monthly instalments at an interest rate of 23%, using their land and home build as collateral. The company also gives loans for infrastructure to provide running water, sewage removal and other basic services. To overcome bureaucratic hurdles, the company introduced procedures for using community institutions to recognise land ownership for people who don't have the formal title documents. But despite these innovations, working in rural India still presents challenges.
பணம் வசூல் பண்ணிட்டு பணம் எடுத்துகிட்டு வர்றது வரையும் வந்து ஆஃபீஸில் கட்டுறது வரையும் ஒரு இது இருக்காது. சப்போஸ் யாரையும் இடையில பிடுங்கிட்டு போனால் கூட ஒன்றும் பண்ண முடியாது நம்மளால்.
Swana Pragati plans to make its operations cashless in the next few years. The company says it currently has loans out for more than 10,000 home builds across 4 states in southern India, with plans to expand further north before June 2017. By then, the Subramaniam family hope to be living in their new permanent house.
This movie was produced by the Wall Street Journal. It's one of our portfolio companies, and I hope that throughout my story you will understand why I showed you this. This is a very innovative solution to a local problem. The essence is that Swana Pragati developed an alternative mortgage, and I've been cracking my brain for years to develop an affordable mortgage, which had a monthly installment or total payment of about $25. And I never managed to develop a product that suited these people. Why? Because the capital markets there do not allow a 30-year loan. Interest rates are too high to make it affordable. And Swana solved that problem by cutting the loan in different stages. So people take first a loan for the foundation, then a loan to build the walls or construct doors and windows. They fixed the land title issue. It was discussed this morning by Johan that title rights are a big thing for the creation of wealth. Here, the local city council is the lowest legal authority in India. And if the local city council says that family X has been living there for 100 years already, that's a formal, providing them formal title. And then the bank can give a loan for a house because it is secured that the house is owned by the family. Now let's first go to the Goodwell definition of impact investing, because there are many definitions of impact investing. For us, impact investing is investing in businesses that solve a certain social or environmental problem whilst generating a financial return. That is our definition of impact investing. Why invest in businesses? Because we feel that by investing in sustainable, profitable businesses, we can generate more capital. Capital is revolving, and if you can attract more capital and revolve it more than you can traditionally with philanthropy, you can simply solve more problems. Another aspect to us is the human side of doing business, because if we do business with these people, it gives us a good feeling. It's a more equal relationship than if I give something to somebody else. No, we are in business, and that's a great feeling. And I'll end my story with a woman and her family in Pakistan, and then you can see even the expression of equality on their faces. Little money can have big impact. Now, is all this realistic to invest in businesses to solve the world's problems? We think it is, because even the people in the base of the pyramid, it is a market and they spend money. The problem is they spend too much, we saw that this morning, transaction costs, on products and services of inferior quality. It is damn expensive to be poor. They pay for electricity, but 80% of the time electricity isn't there. They pay for water, but the water is still polluted. There is transport. They spend a lot on transport, but our cleaning lady in Nigeria, it takes her 3.5 hours in the morning to get to the office. It's inhumane. Every morning when I see her and she greets us, I feel sorry for her. And she spends a lot of her income on that as well. So it is a market, and the people have money to spend. Now, if you want to invest in this market, and this is our philosophy, try to understand the local situation and come up with local solutions. This is an example of financial services. Goodwell is active in financial inclusion. I made this picture in Ghana last October. And investing for us is easy because we understand, or try to understand, what the needs of these people are. And for financial inclusion, it is not so difficult. What people want, if you ask them, and research is backing that, is first, access to savings. Secondly, access to payments. Third, access to insurance. And fourth comes access to loans. Why is this? These people live in very uncertain circumstances, in a very unstable world. If somebody in the family breaks a leg, this can bring down the entire family. It can be a true calamity, certainly if it's the breadwinner. So what people want in the first time is to be protected for the unforeseen and have their savings in a safe and trusted place. Secondly, if they don't have savings, they want to be able to ring their sister in the city or the brother abroad, send us money, somebody is hospitalized or needs to be hospitalized. We will only get access to the hospital if we pay first. Insurance, people do want insurance, but the products that are there aren't good, aren't reliable. And only fourth, if you are a woman like these, comes access to loans. That's something of a last resort. Now, if you know this, then all of a sudden it's much easier to invest. Because if you invest in this order of priority, you're already managing your risk as well. You're having impact and you're managing your risks. And for us, impact and risk are two sides of the same model. And this is, no, let's go back. So you know what to do. Invest, if you are in financial services, in these 4 areas. And then the only thing that you still need to solve is execution. And for that you need good people. As I mentioned, we believe in local solutions for local problems. So what we have is local teams on the ground, not natives. It's not my sister who moved to Nigeria, you know, trying to find nice projects. No, we have natives who grew up there, who understand the local situation, who are able to identify the great opportunities, like Swana Pragati, that movie. You know, I've been cracking my head about, you know, an affordable mortgage for years. I worked for FMO. All the opportunities were there to develop something. We couldn't find it. And our team in India found Swana Pragati and said, this is a great solution. Of course it is. Now, one of our great success stories is Equitas in India, a microfinance institution. Again, it was perceived toxic when we invested because it was a startup back in 2008. And classical investors don't like to invest in startups. It's very simple. Even some of our investors or people who wanted to invest said, "Els, we want to work with you, but we've heard you're doing startups. You have to promise us, don't do startups. I can't explain it at home." But we did invest in Equitas because it was a great team who understood the local situation. The team had the operational experience. They had worked in retail banks, and they had a passion to solve the problems of these women. And that passion is elementary if you want to build a business that solves local problems. What made Equitas so strong? Not only because they were providing financial services. In fact, it was a poor solution because they could only give loans under the Indian law. So it was a bit painful. I never liked it really because it was number 4 in the priority list of these women. But we had to get started and do something for them. And we knew over time we will be able to offer deposit services to these women. Equitas had a great business model. It was like a machine, the back office, the operations, the discipline, and they grew from 0 to 3 million clients in 8 years' time. And of course, the Indian government was working as well, recognizing the needs of the people. So the Indian government last year decided to grant 10 small business bank licenses. 7 were awarded to MFIs. Equitas was one of them. So now they had a bank license, and with a bank license, you can cater to the number 1 need, savings. You can also feel that if you have a bank license, there's a financial return to be made. A bank license is worth money. Now, to get that bank license, they had to increase capital and restructure also a little bit. So an IPO was the way to go for them. So Equitas listed about a month ago. It was a very good deal for us. In the end, we sold our investment. We had already sold part of our shares a few years ago. But in the end, we earned our investment 10 times back at a net IRR of 85%. Great return. 3 million clients reached through Equitas alone. And all these women are relatively happy. But of course, there are risks in India as well. We've also written off to investments because of political intervention in a certain state in the south. These risks are there, and the big issue is how do you manage risks so that these success stories in the end give you a good return. And I mentioned already, for us, managing risks is spreading the portfolio. If you put the right mix to things that are supposed to be toxic, all of a sudden it's not toxic anymore. And in India, our discipline has been very good. The political risk event happened in the southwest of India. Government declared microfinance illegal in a certain state, even put security guards at the doorsteps of all the microfinance banks. So these women couldn't go to the bank anymore to repay their loans. And of course, these microfinance institutions went bankrupt. Technically, I should say. They're still alive, fortunately, and they will get back on their feet. But we've written them off. Those are typical risks, but because our portfolio was spread across India, we were disciplined in reaching as many people as we could in underserved areas, instead of, following the herd behavior and all go to the southwest. Our overall portfolio was rescued, and we managed to make a nice return. We've also invested in different business models. Equitas is just one example, but you saw Swana Pragati, which is something completely different. So giving people access to different products. Their needs are different. It can vary upon the geography. It can vary upon families, whether you have a business, yes or no. This is another story from the field. This woman is part of this group, You see all these women here are wearing traditional clothes. They're all trading in agricultural products. It's northern Ghana, and they travel to Benin, Ivory Coast, and other neighboring countries to buy and sell stuff. She wears different clothes. She's the group leader. She's been very successful. She went to 3 loan cycles, and now she stopped borrowing because her business is doing well. And more importantly, her kids are in school. And we heard this morning that one of the big 3 problems in the world is education. What we see a lot is that the impact of microfinance is in getting kids into schools. Most mothers in the world do not want to be their child in a factory and working. Parents want their kids to be in school. So did she, but she was called into this meeting because we were there to hear from the people what else they needed from the bank. And somebody asked a question about supply chain opportunities. The women were asking us, or the bank, to give them access to a warehouse because the traveling back and forth to neighboring countries with small quantities was not very efficient. If the bank could take care of a warehouse, then they could grow their business. So through microfinance, you can also influence. It's simple to arrange. And that's also what Equitas did. They wanted to create sticky clients. Every business wants sticky clients. What did they do to create sticky clients? They had a food program. So they bought rice in big quantities. Then you get a huge discount. And we discussed already, it's expensive to be poor. Why? Because you buy a lot of stuff in small quantities. It's always more expensive. For Equitas, it was not a big thing to set up a foundation that was purchasing rice for the clients in big quantities and give the clients a discount. It's marketing, but it's marketing in the local way. The same they did with health camps. Many of these women suffer from eye diseases because they cook on traditional wood inside the house, and the pollution from the smoke is tremendous, and many of them get eye problems. If you detect that in an early stage, your eyes can be saved. And they did that as a service to create sticky clients. Now, this is my favorite story, and it still makes me happy. I met these women in Pakistan, I think 1.5 years ago. In India or in Pakistan, if you marry as a woman, you basically marry into the family of your husband. And this happened to her as well. So she became responsible for all the work in the household, etc. But the household was very poor. They didn't have enough to eat. And she said, I have an idea. I know I have to stay at home. You don't want me to go out. But with a microloan, I can buy a sewing machine and an embroidery machine. With the loan, I buy some of these shirts. I stay in a house, but I embroider some stuff and I sell it back to the factory at a margin. That way I can contribute to earning a living for the family. So she did, and it worked out well. So she wanted another loan because she said, when I'm working on the embroidery, I can cook in the meantime. You know, I prepare it, and whilst embroidering, I only have to monitor the pots and the pans. So with the second loan, she bought some pots and pans so that she could have a food stall in front of her house and sell simple lunches to day workers from the rural areas who come to the city. And in Asia, it's pretty normal that you eat your lunch out. So she was cooking for them. Where is the real impact? It's not only that she generated income from the family. Next to her is the brother of her husband who was unemployed. And that was a big problem for the family, not only because of the lack of income. It was also a shame that such a young guy was at home and didn't have a job. So what did she do? She gave him the job to stand there and sell the food to the workers. So she created a job. This is her husband. I've never seen a husband that proud of his own woman. Maybe my own husband, but this was incredible. His smile, he was so proud. So the human impact is also there. The brother had a job, and this is what we see on average. We know the statistics are there. Every micro-entrepreneur creates, on average, 1.5 jobs. And to me personally, this face, you know, or the happy faces, all the happy faces in the house are at least as important. So if you provide microfinance in a responsible way, this is the impact you can have. Now, just to conclude this, because I'm standing between you and your lunch, I realized that Goodwill is a small firm. I used to work for FMO in the past, but with a bunch of people we decided to start our own impact firm Till today, we've raised about 70 million euros in capital, made about 20 investments, reached about 10 million households. We are generating good returns for our investors. Our first fund, which launched in 2007, has already returned 122% of the capital to the investors. So the money that they invested, they've received it back, plus 22%. There's still more profit that we will distribute back to them. And we expect the first fund, where we had the 2 write-offs in India, to nevertheless close with a 10% net IRR achieved for investors. So we believe it is possible to combine profit with social impact in a sustainable way. The only but is that you have to be long-term oriented. If you're going for the quick buck, yes, then you can do harm. But if you're long-term oriented and you're willing to work with the Swana Pragatis of this world, a great example, a great innovation in housing finance, but they are not going to scale up like Equitas did to 3 million clients. So sometimes you need a bit more patience, and you can impact. So this is what we're hoping to achieve: happy faces and financial returns.